live from New York. The show that has the boss in studio today.
Right, which means it's an embarrassing day for both of you to be late.
Wow. That's true.
I had an excuse.
Oh, yeah.
I was talking to the boss.
Hey, America, guess what? New York City sometimes has traffic.
Okay.
Brew just found out. Brew just found out.
On today's show, his name's Justin Herbert.
That makes sense.
Don't we say that every 2 months? I mean,
Well, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Jaylen Brown and Justin Herbert, the best players in all sports. 5 years, $262.5 million. Here's his ranks on field for his first 3 years. They're pretty spectacular. He's got the most passing yards. He's got the most 300-yard games. He's got the second most touchdowns. Also, his record is 25-24, and he's yet to win a playoff game, even when his opponent threw 4 interceptions.
Okay. Well, hard to hold
part
that
of
one
the
against
script.
him, but go ahead.
So what are the expectations for Herbert this year?
Moments now. Listen, I'm a Justin Herbert fan. I'm a Justin Herbert believer. If you guys remember last year, I thought some of our friends had gone a little crazy with the, you know what, Tua was the right pick over Justin Herbert. I don't believe that. I think Justin Herbert's excellent. I also think he now is in a position where it's not anymore about the arm talent and the cannon and the potential, and now he's got to produce consistently and in the biggest spots. So in 2021, Justin Herbert played really well. And then in Week 18, that was the famous game. Hey, what if they tie? They both go to the playoffs. Remember that? He was awesome at the very, very end of that game, but he was not good the first 3 quarters, and they lost. Last year, they do finally get over the hump. They get to the playoffs, and he's awesome the big first half of that playoff game, and then not good late, and they lost. And so the 2 biggest moments of his career, he has not come through. And Brew, here's the other thing that I don't want to say is working against him, but it's just a fact. Over the last decade, since we've had the new quarterback wage scale, we have a list of a dozen or so quarterbacks that have gotten this, after their 3rd year, give them the huge money as early as possible. Only 2 of them, prior to Herbert, did that without having won a playoff game. One was Carson Wentz, weird spot because he got them the bye with his excellent play, but then got hurt. But that ended up not working out. The other is Kyler, and that we'll see, but I don't think is going to work
Not
out.
looking good.
Everybody else that got paid, Lamar's won a playoff game. Daniel Jones just got paid. He'd won a playoff game. Mahomes, obviously. Josh Allen in conference championship game. Hell, Jared Goff, it didn't work out, but he had been to a Super Bowl. Go up and down the list. Burrow's going to get paid. He's been to a Super Bowl, won multiple playoff games. So they are paying him. I think it is smart to pay him. I would pay him too. But now there is immense pressure on Justin Herbert.
Yeah, and you mentioned last year's playoff game, and I know a lot of it wasn't on him. Obviously, the defense led up too, but only 1 touchdown pass, and less than 60% of his passes completed. So he wasn't great.
Correct.
Even when they built the big lead, it wasn't just him or that he was throwing lights out. I'm expecting a big season, though, because like you, I like him. Obviously, you're adding Kellen Moore. One of my big problems with him has been Brandon Staley. Yeah. Well, Kellen Moore, you're adding him as the OC. We saw him work wonders with Dak and the Cowboys. I mean, Dak was obviously good before that, but his numbers skyrocketed. People start thinking of him as an elite passer. Their offense became one of the best in the league with Kellen Moore. And they are, look, I think Herbert's better than Dak. So you have a better quarterback to work with. I think overall their receiving group, if they stay healthy, is better than what Dallas had. You still got Austin Eckler.
Should be top 3 in the league, their receiving group.
So
if they stay
I'm expecting big things. Look, the AFC, we know is stacked. I think that division's going to be tough outside of even Kansas City. But they got to make the playoffs, and I think he has a big year.
All right, can I read you some stats that kind of are head-scratching?
Sure.
Because the first stats that I put up, he's got the most this, he's got the most that. And then we've got the highlights when he's airing it out, and it's a lot of feels like the combine sometimes. Oh my God, did you see that? Touchdowns last year, 25. Same as Tua, but Tua did it in 13 games, and Herbert did it in 17 games. He threw the ball 700 times, so this is a little bit off. But average yards per pass was 6.8, same as Mac Jones, king of the dink and dunk.
But that's one of the criticisms of the previous offensive coordinators. Right. They don't let him throw
so this is supposed to be Kellen Moore. So you want him up around 8. Like Mahomes are at 8, some people beyond Mahomes, but everybody's at 7 or 8. Plus, So do you think he's going to be airing it out deep now, stretching defenses, and letting it go, or is it going to be more of a balanced attack?
Well, here's their biggest strength should be the ability to stretch defenses wide and vertically, especially now they spent another first-round pick on a wide receiver. And obviously, health has been the bugaboo for the Chargers for as long as I've been alive, it seems, health and bad special teams. So, if they stay healthy, that's 3 great receivers. But the negative case, the case against Justin Herbert is, I'm going to show it to you right here. So I'm going to show you 3 different quarterbacks, and at least I think I am, and you can tell me whether or not, like, if you think one is discernibly better than the next, or one is worse, or if they're all about the same.
I know exactly what it is.
So
you know all those guys?
Yes.
Well, here's the thing.
Because
it's Justin Herbert.
Right.
And it's actually, you could argue his best year was his first year. You could argue his best year was his second year. You could not argue his best year was last year. The problem for Herbert, I don't even want to say the problem, the risk of making him the highest paid player in league history is, after his rookie season, it was like, that's a no doubt. But he hasn't gotten discernibly better from, by the way, a stats perspective or an eye test perspective. He was instantly excellent. Brew and I watched the first game he ever played together on my couch in Harlem. That was the game I left. I left walking around. I don't even remember if that was the game I left.
Didn't the Chiefs won?
But that was the game when
the next year.
The next year. That was the game when Tyrod Taylor got stabbed right before kickoff, and Herbert came in. Stabbed, I guess, is unfair. I mean, the team doctor punctured his lung with a needle. And so you would just, the fact that it has been stable, it's not bad because it started off at such a high level, but you need it to get better, and you need him to be better in some of the bigger spots.
Here's to your point, though, about Wentz and Kyler Murray.
Yep.
They both had really one really good season and then got the deal. He's had 2. And came in the most difficult spot, having to start, off surprisingly against the best team in the league. So I think he's got the
one game above 500.
Okay, I know you're a big quarterback wins guy.
What are we playing for?
You think, say it.
Hold on.
You think Mac Jones is better?
No, I don't think Mac Jones is better, but I'm saying I want to see results. If Mahomes is Tom Brady, then someone's got to be Peyton Manning. Is it going to be Burrow or is it going to be Herbert?
Well, so I don't think he's going to be Peyton Manning, but I think what you're leading to is a very interesting question. Because if this all works well for him, he finishes the year, if this goes perfectly, and we're like, oh, he's one of the 3 best quarterbacks in the conference, Mahomes, Burrow, and Justin Herbert. If it goes sideways on him, or even if he just doesn't jump, could he end the year the highest paid player in the league and the 8th best quarterback in his own conference? Because you have Mahomes, Burrow, you have the Prince, you have Lamar, you have your guy Josh Allen, you have your other guy Aaron Rodgers, you have Tua. That's 7 names.
Russell Wilson.
And so, okay, well let's be realistic. Okay, but so the point is
one bad year.
Okay,
one bad year.
The point is, Wildes, that you can be a good quarterback and average in the AFC. You've got to be a great quarterback to be one of the best quarterbacks in the AFC. He can be, but he's got to be consistent.
Next stop for the Brinks truck, Joe Burrow's house.
Yeah.
Cincinnati has several looming contract negotiations. And earlier this week, Bengals president Mike Brown gave this quote to Ben Baby, and this quote is real. "We have some good players that need to be fed. That's a challenge. It's mathematical." The quote starts off normal. You get a bag of corn and you have 10 hogs. Well, you're going to put that out to them. The bag's going to be empty, and some of them aren't going to get it. Okay, here's Joe Burrow, who's still optimistic about being fed. Okay, sponsored by Body Armor, I think, but I'm not quite sure.
I think that's right.
Is Cincinnati's Super Bowl window closing, bro?
Really?
I don't know. You picked the Ravens, I think, in their own division. I don't know.
I felt the same way when you said, is Josh Allen's window closes, Buffalo's window closing?
Yeah, you've abandoned them entirely.
No, I'm just saying, when you have an elite quarterback,
so you believe
a la Josh Allen, a la Joe Burrow, we can go on with a few more, obviously Mahomes, but the window doesn't close. The window will not close. I know you're going to say, well, this iteration with these receivers, with these. As long as Joe Burrow is there, the window is open. This dude specializes in opening windows that were previously airtight. They won 2 games. Every Everybody was saying, you may have been. I wasn't on the show with you at that point, but were you saying you saying he shouldn't have went to Cincinnati? Were you one of those saying, hold out, don't go to the Bengals?
Unfortunately, I was actually saying that Tua should have been the number one pick. I was wrong on that one, but go ahead.
Okay, but there you 2-11, or 2 wins. Yeah. Nobody thought they could reach the Super Bowl or be a good team.
Yeah.
People thought he shouldn't even go there. They win 4 games his rookie year because he gets hurt.
Yeah.
And then he takes them to the Super Bowl. Yeah. And last year they get within a bad call and a controversial call. Controversial. I switch it. It's controversial call and a last-second field goal. I know you. I can't even side with Wildes anymore.
Just go ahead.
Chiefs. But and then the last-second field goal of getting back to the Super Bowl. So the window is not closing. I'm not saying they're going to win it this year, but the window's not closing.
Let me tell you this. If they don't win it this year, they are going to have to spend the next couple years taking a bit of a step back to get back to where they are right now. And that
why?
Well, I'll tell you why. Because right now, this moment, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins combined make $24 million. All put together. Joe's about to get 54 here in the next couple weeks. Jamar is going to get a new deal this time next year.
Right.
And T. Higgins is going to be gone.
Okay. So they're not going to be any good. I like T. Higgins. But they're not going to be any good without T. Higgins?
Well, so T. Higgins is gone. Tyler Boyd will also be gone. He's a free agent. Joe Mixon will also be gone. He's a free agent. All 3 of their top tight ends are free agents, as is their number 1 D tackle, as is their number 1 corner, Chidobe Awuzie. I personally believe what the Bengals did this offseason was, I don't want to say it was bad. I think it was interesting. Because I think the long-term right move would have been trade T. Higgins for a first-round pick. You're not going to be able to pay him and Chase. You can't. Chase is going to make $30 million a year. Higgins is going to make $25 million a year. You can't have that and a $55 million a year quarterback. It's not happening. So Higgins is going to leave next year for nothing. They decided, you know what? We'll risk that because we think we can win the Super Bowl this year. And more power to them. Yeah. It is an aggressive move that if they get to, much less win the Super Bowl, then it will look like the smart move. I'm not saying their window's closing. And I agree with you, Brew, and I almost even agree with Joe Burrow when he famously said, my window is my entire career. I think he said about 96 hours before Patrick Mahomes sent him home for the summer. But set that aside, they will always be a level of contender.
Yeah.
But you have different chances. The Bills' best chance to win a Super Bowl for probably a 5-year stretch from 2020 to 2025 was 2 years ago. And Mahomes slammed it on their fingers in 13 seconds. The Bengals' best chance to win a Super Bowl, I believe, it was last year and this coming year. If they don't, they then will have to reboot it a bit. That's all it is. It will get harder for them.
10 teams in the last 8 Super Bowls have made it to the Super Bowl. 10.
What do you mean?
10 teams have played in the last 8 Super Bowls. That's a lot. Yeah. You're going to tell me they can't be one of 10 teams over the next several years?
No, I'm saying they were already one of them. And I'm saying that if you don't get there, does anyone think they're going to have more talent on offense at any point in the next 4 seasons than right now? Of course not. Of course not. They have the best receiver, second best receiver in the league, second best quarterback in the league, and the best number 2 receiver in the league who make a combined $24 million.
We just saw Tyreek Hill leave. So if Joe Burrow is on par, a little bit.
He's not.
He's a little bit below.
He's
not a little bit.
But he's a little bit. He's good enough where he can make other guys. As long as they keep Jamar. Then they'll make the most out of a number 2.
Here's Mike Florio on Pro Football Talk. He wrote this morning on Twitter or X, I don't know what we're exactly calling it, but I'm going to get back to you.
X.
If Patrick Mahomes is fine with helping to further feather Clark Hunt's billion-dollar nest.
I don't.
Go ahead. I like birding.
Yeah, go ahead.
So be it. But Mahomes is currently $7.5 million per year behind the top of the market at the QB position, which will only get worse when Joe Burrow signs a deal. There is still a salary cap in place.
Yeah, listen, I've known Mike for 15 years. One of those years he didn't speak with me because he got mad at me. I hope that doesn't happen again. I really like and respect Mike. I don't know what his obsession with this very specific player's contract is, and B, I don't want to say it's misleading. It is a little misleading. I don't know if it's intentional. Because there is a salary cap, it is not as simple as Mahomes is leaving money on the table so Clark Hunt can have it.
Yeah, like
that's
baseball.
not what's happening. What is happening is Patrick Mahomes has chosen not to squeeze every last dollar out of the Chiefs, and the Chiefs have repaid that by spending up to the very last cent of the salary cap on players around him. Could he have made an extra $7 million last year? He could have. Could that have cost them Marquez Valdes-Scantling? It would have. What did he do in the playoffs? Well, he caught the go-ahead touchdown in the divisional round and the AFC Championship game. And if Patrick, how much is being the GOAT worth, Brew? Is it worth $100 million? How much has it been worth to Jordan? A couple billion? How much is it worth to LeBron? Billions untold?
A change.
No, Jordan was the GOAT at one point in time. How much has it been worth to Brady? How much is it? Right? And so could Mahomes squeeze the Chiefs? Yes. Would it be even in his financial interest to squeeze the Chiefs? I don't think so. At the very end of his career, maybe, but not right now.
Can I put a question to you, bro?
Yeah.
Are you surprised that Joe Burrow isn't going the Patrick Mahomes route? It is worth more money.
Taking every last. First of all, we don't know what his contract's going to be. I do think he's going to be higher than Herbert.
Yeah.
So do I. So I think that's the large. I don't see anyone saying except me that you know what I should get. If Mahomes making $45 million a year average, I take 45.1. Just stick it to you. But I'm still be vastly underpaid, a little bit of a rivalry, and leave some money for everybody else.
Well, there are those that'll tell you you can always move the money around. And so that there are some executives, former executives,
they're wrong.
In the
That's
NFL.
Why they're former.
No, but you can move contracts around.
Can I just?
You can.
Of course you can. But the thing,
and then those people still say, "Oh, Mahomes gave up all this money," and I'm with you.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying they're looking at it and saying, "But they couldn't keep Tyreek Hill."
No.
That's what they're saying. He gave up this money so you could keep the team around him, and you let the best receiver on your team go.
Yes, and that, by the way, which revisits the conversation we were just having about the Bengals, which is why they're going to have a problem. But there's two things I got to say here. I apologize. Hubs, give us an extra 1 minute if we could. One is, yes, you can always move money around, but every dollar that is paid shows up on some year's salary
Push it down.
Right. But if you are
That's where he brings in Clark Hunt.
Wait, no, it is not. This is what I have to explain. If you are planning to be with the team for the next 12 years, you can't push it 20 years down the road. You can push it 4 years down the road. Guess what? That affects him if he's trying to be on the team in 4 years. Now, do I think he should, at age 37, squeeze the Chiefs as tight as he can? Be like, you know what? If you're screwed when I'm gone, that's your guys' problem. Absolutely. He will have at that point delivered a half a dozen or so Super Bowls to Kansas City. He'll have earned it. He's already earned it, but it also won't hurt him. But the other thing about that is, to be fair to Burrow or anyone else that's like, oh, why don't they do what Mahomes did? Mahomes' contract is the way it is structured. Each year, money 18 months in the future vests.
Yep.
So his $450 million was essentially 400 of it was guaranteed. So yes, he took less,
Not just 60.
But it is right. That's what I'm saying. If you actually look at it, so like in
just
March,
because he's so good,
but also because in March of every year, the money for 2 years down the road guarantees. So at any point to cut him would cost him $100 million at any point in his contract. So he's basically uncuttable. So I don't know if the Bengals would give Joe Burrow that contract. I think it's unfair to Joe to say he should take it because I don't even know if that's available to him because it was a 10-year deal. It wasn't a 5-year deal.
Overall, I agree with you. This is how GOATs think. They understand that no matter what amount of money you make at this level, when you're that good, it's more money than you're ever going to be able to spend. And like you said, when you're the GOAT, when you win so much, you get the endorsement deals and everything else that comes with it. And so Jordan was woefully underpaid most of his career.
Yep.
Right. And Brady as well. And look at them. They're the GOATs.
But you like this little race to get up to $54 million? Jalen got 51, Lamar got 52, Herbert got 52.5. Yeah. So now I have to get $500,000 more than the next guy?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it.
I think it's silly. I think it hurts your team.
So what do you think you should do? Just take
I think you should take a little bit less. I think you take a little to get an extra $500,000 to have some ego against these other quarterbacks.
I think that's
when you're actually only competing against Mahomes. Well, if you want to be the best, that's what the best is doing. One thing, you're doing something else. Seems strange.
All right.
If the best was doing something, I'd follow the best.
He's gonna have to win. You're making some sense.
Haagen-Dazs ice cream like this. I'm Ben & Jerry's. I'm gonna do that too.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.